Choop! Ha 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 ha!
What's up? How's it going, everybody? Hey, I'm trying something new here, actually, with the channel, and it's something I haven't done in a long time. I actually used to stream this way, and but I want to know if you can hear me. How's the quality? All that kind of stuff, because I'm actually using the new Restream 2.0 as opposed to I had been using Restream for years, but I always would go through OBS, and this time I'm streaming straight through the browser. It's kind of like what you see a lot of podcasters use for their shows and stuff. I've always been kind of doing it a little bit of a different way. I'm just doing straight OBS Studio. I have all my own stuff, but Restream came out with some really cool new stuff for their 2.0, and they actually hooked me up with the service for a few months. So it's kind enough for them to do that. They asked me if I wanted to be like an affiliate and stuff with them. So I was like, heck yeah, let's try it out and stuff. I'm gonna try using their stuff. There's actually a link down in the chat. If you use that link or whatever, if you're interested in using the Restream, it does help the channel and stuff. But besides that, I just want to know if you guys can hear me and all that kind of stuff, because I had to implement new things. Quality's good. Okay, cool. Because I was messing around with this 3-bit and wasn't sure, but I know you remember back in the day we used Restream Studio sometimes for the shows, and I ended up just kind of doing the using Restream on the back end, but not using the studio, right? So this is cool using the studio. Anyway, I like it so far. I think it's better than it was before, even back then. So, but yeah, shout out to everybody in the chat. I know I'm getting off on a sidetrack on that stuff. This is kind of a that's kind of a channel programming note, I guess you could say. But thank you all for tuning in to Fun Speculation. And we got some some fun stuff and some not fun stuff to talk about, because we're gonna have some Ubisoft discussions. It's kind of everybody's talking about Ubisoft right now. Ubisoft is kind of in turmoil. They have had a lot of issues in the past. I've had videos and streams in the past where we just ranted about Ubisoft for a long time, kind of predicting in a way that this whole situation that's occurring now would happen if they didn't get their shit together. And it seems like what we kind of foretold then is actually coming true. I remember actually there being discussions on other podcasts at the time, and even some people in our chat were kind of defending Ubisoft quite a bit. And I think there's still some defense to be had in them in some ways. But I want to get to the real reason why they're having trouble. A lot of people are hyper focusing on certain issues that are going to be the more of what the media is covering, and what because of the culture stuff out there and the culture wars kind of going on, and the sensitivity from different groups about different things and all this other kind of stuff, and always that all that noise. But I think at the core element of what's actually happening is more about what we had been talking about in the past with Ubisoft and the kind of the direction of the company, and why they're in the situation they're in now. So I want to kind of talk about that, and I want to talk about Starfield also, because hey, a Shattered Space is actually launching tomorrow, which is absolutely awesome. Xbox is on a roll of awesome content, hitting left and right, and it's awesome to see. Actually, it's awesome to see this kind of pipeline of great games actually happening. We got a couple strategy games hit recently. We had Age of Mythology Retold, which was insanely well done RTS on console, and I streamed that the other day. If you didn't check it out, if you've been on the fence about Age of Mythology Retold, check out that stream, and maybe you can kind of see what it's all about. Um, Other than that, also we had um, Ara History Untold come out. That's on PC, so available via PC Game Pass, and I've been playing a lot of that as well. I hooked into it. It's an amazing game. It's kind of like Civ on steroids in some ways. And it's an absolutely blast game to play, and it will melt the hours away like crazy. And then another game just hit PC Game Pass, which is Frostpunk 2, which is also going to come later onto consoles. And when it does hit consoles, it will be on Game Pass as well. It's not first party or anything. That's a third party game, but it is a day and date game that they made a deal with. So that's awesome. Anytime they do day and date deals for Game Pass on third party games, it kind of feels like, hey, that's like a extra little gift for us gamers. We still have more of that kind of stuff to look forward to this year as well with Stalker 2. Is going to be a massive game hitting in November. But yeah, tomorrow is Starfield Shattered Space, the much maligned Starfield. People writing articles saying, will Shattered Space save Starfield? Because it needs to be saved all of a sudden. But yeah, I don't think it needs to be saved. Hey, Pluck83 member for 4 months says, love you, Mav. Keep doing what you're doing. Hey, love you guys too. Everybody in the chat, everybody that watches our content. Um, you all rock. I super appreciate every single person that is here. And hey, look, we can actually see your comments now, and I can actually highlight using the features with the restream. So cool. Hope you like this because we can kind of rock with this theme if you like it. If not, we can switch it up or whatever. I need to get rid of my um, overlay there because it kind of blocks it, right? Maybe we go to silver, a little smaller, or we just turn it off. I don't know. Yeah, there we go. I like that. All right. Anyway, um, shout out to Brett Bingham. Shout out to Omi Tony, Brandon Martin here hanging out. What's up, Brandon? How are you doing? Let's see. We also have Andrew Colonane here hanging out. RSJ fan hanging out. 3-Bit is here hanging out. 3-Bit says choo choo.
Choo choo! Ha 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 ha!
And that is another one coming out as well that I am absolutely stoked for, and that is um, Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones is on my like most anticipated list. I know a lot of people aren't really even talking about it. It's weird how a lot of these games, for whatever reason, kind of get neglected from conversation. It could be like a genre thing. It could be a fact that it's associated with Xbox, the fact that it's Xbox first party. It could be um, some kind of controversy or anything that's out there. It just seems like sometimes certain games just get neglected with conversation. And Indiana Jones, I feel like if it was launching everywhere day and date, like if it was on Xbox, PlayStation, um, at day and date, it wouldn't be getting as neglected from the conversation. Instead, the conversation of it going to PlayStation actually became kind of a negative thing from the Xbox fan sides, which kind of like hampered the excitement from some Xbox fans. It seems like not me. I'm still super pumped for it. It'll come to PlayStation next year. It was weird how they had announced that earlier this year that it was going to happen that way, but it happened, and we got that announcement. So for what it's worth, I'm super excited for it, and it doesn't matter to me what they're doing with that. But it is interesting how that's probably one of the bigger games now, especially with Assassin's Creed Shadows getting delayed to actually hit in the second half. Like Indiana Jones, Call of Duty Black Ops, we had Stalker 2 coming. Um and Shattered Space tomorrow. We got Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred still. Still have Flight Sim hitting this year as well. If you're gaming on Xbox and you're gaming on Game Pass, you are absolutely feasting in the next few months. It is bonkers. And then going into next year, there's no let up. And that's what we've always been talking about for so long. This Game Pass deluge, the avalanche of content, and like everything that they've been uh, working towards and building up for. It's what we always said was coming, and it's actually here. But while it's actually here, it seems like nobody is actually giving that credit or paying attention to it, or because everybody is just focused on it. Xbox put games on PlayStation now, so Xbox is worthless and all this other kind of stuff. And I'm just like, hey, look at these games. Speaking of, I want to get back to one of the first things I want to talk about, which is Assassin's Creed Shadows, and not just Assassin's Creed Shadows, but Ubisoft in general. Um, with the absence of Assassin's Creed Shadows at TGS, we have since been kind of in this what's going on with Ubisoft kind of thing. You know, they had Star Wars Outlaws come out, which we thought was going to be kind of like, hey, yeah, finally Ubisoft's got some big great games coming out, right? They got Star Wars Outlaws, followed by Assassin's Creed Shadows. Oh my God, they're cooking, right? They're going to be fine. They're going to get back on their feet. Well, ever since Assassin's Creed Shadows has been announced, there's been a bunch of turmoil with that game for whatever reason. You know, I personally don't agree with a lot of the issues that people have with it. It's just up to them personally. Whatever people are paying attention to or hyper focusing on at the time is what it is, right? And I guess I can't really say, hey, you can't say that or whatever. But you know, things are affecting the excitement for these games. However, that being said, the effect is still that there has been a lack of excitement over Assassin's Creed Shadows. It seems like it's been in the pre-order numbers, and it seems like that could have potentially led to the delay. Now, there has been some quality concerns in the background over Assassin's Creed Shadows as well. So there's potential it could be there because it is a bigger game again. They're saying kind of around the same level as like Origins, maybe between Origins and Odyssey somewhere. So with that game, we're looking forward to it. But is it going to be the Assassin's Creed that we're all been wanting it to be? I don't know, but there's a lack of excitement. It's affecting the pre-order numbers. Uh, I think maybe there's some fatigue there as well. I'm not sure. It could be because of all the noise around all the culture stuff. There could be a lot of different things. I think I know the core thing here, and I think I know the core reason why. Star Wars Outlaws also was affected by a lack of excitement. It seemed like people were excited for this game until kind of close to launch. Then people started focusing on the way the character looks, um, and all that. And the game came out, and then there was like some people didn't like some of the mechanics in the game with the stealth elements and stuff like that. Anyway, it led to some, I wouldn't say like overly negative reviews or anything like that, but it just kind of got like mediocre, feedback and reception when it came out. There was some negative, there's some positive. I played several hours of the game so far, and I actually really like it. I think it's a good game, right? Um, but it didn't do the numbers that they were wanting it to, and that's from a big new Star Wars game, right? This is something that I can't imagine what their expectations were, but they were definitely a lot higher than what happened. So Star Wars Outlaws kind of not meeting those expectations out of the gate for what their sales expectations were, I think is pretty damaging for them, especially after they've had such a long run of messing with all these games as service things, doing all these like free to play things and all these other kind of experiments. You know, they had the forever development of Skull and Bones, they have the forever development of Beyond Good and Evil 2, and all this stuff. And then they finally, okay, Avatar came out. I don't know what their expectations were. I don't know if it met expectations. I don't think it did. Then you had the Prince of Persia game that came out earlier this year, which a lot of people loved, but still nobody bought it. Nobody bought this game, right? Star Wars Outlaws, nobody bought it. Assassin's Creed Shadows, people are not excited for it. it's not. I know some people are like I am, but overall, just the general sentiment of how the hype is around that game. It seems like it's not really picking up the amount of hype that you would normally expect, especially from Assassin's Creed in Japan and stuff. So yeah, it's kind of troubling, right? And that's led to the delay, obviously, like I said, for Assassin's Creed Shadows, and then now you have them skipping TGS as well for whatever reason. And we're in this situation now where the board at Ubisoft is actually starting to investigate the leadership of the company and what's all going on and what's happening. And there's just a lot of chaos. Now I want to go back in time to when we had a conversation because I this is what I think is actually going on. Um, Let me highlight this real quick. RSJ fan says, I don't know how Star Wars Outlaws underperformed. Yeah, it's kind of baffling to me too. It seemed like there was so much hype and excitement for that game when it was first revealed, so much positivity, and then all of a sudden, just been kind of melting away leading up to launch, and then it was just mostly kind of weird conversations and some negativity out there, and it just kind of like, hey, the people that were just looking for a good game got what they were looking for, but people that were hyper focusing on certain things or looking for something else didn't get what they wanted, right? Um, Blind Mephisto says, I think the root of it, a lot of it is that Assassin's Creed in Japan is something that's been talked about since forever and everyone had their own vision. That's a good thought as well. Sub Cyber Gunner, how's it going? Xbox Gamer also says, why do they only talk about Xbox games going to PS5 and not Switch? Microsoft is going to support Switch 2 a lot. Hey, absolutely. They're going to. They're going to support everything, right? And I'm all for it. I know a lot of people are not. I want to get into some of that later, because it's a bigger conversation. But overall, we're in this situation now with Ubisoft, and we've had these conversations before about Ubisoft when I was concerned with Ubisoft. We talked about this, and this was at the time when they went on a spree. They went on a spree of announcing games of service, free to play type games, all in the Clancy genre. They had announced, what was it? The Division Heartland, right? They had announced Ghost Recon something or another. I can't even remember the name of it because that game was announced and then canceled like a couple months later. X Defiant. All they announced all these things within a very short period of time. Meanwhile, they're also were working on Skull and Bones in the background and trying to figure out what the hell that was. And then we were all kind of watching all this happen. And it's kind of like, well, at the time, I raised a lot of concerns because it's not that I have an issue with games as service games or free to play games. I think they definitely have a place in the industry, and I like a lot of them. But much like Ubisoft has done in the past, it seems like they always are trying to chase something or chase the trend or chase whatever the most successful thing was that they have and make everything like it. Or we need our own Fortnite, we need our own Call of Duty, we need our own this, we need our own that. They're going to try and say, well, all these, we need our version of that because that's the most successful things out there. And it makes sense to do with business, right? How you're going to say, well, hey, look how successful like Fortnite or some of these other like games of service and free to play games are. And you could look at, well, we need that, right? You know, Ubisoft also had I can't even remember the name of it, but they had another one of those games come out, and it absolutely bombed. They had their was it hype. Uh, Somebody in the chat help me out. It was like hyper something or some shit like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it came out and it fizzled and it flamed out faster than anything I think I've seen, besides Concord. Concord was faster. Concord fizzled out in record time. But they had this that game, then they did these other ones in the Clancy genre, and it seemed like they were like, well, okay, let's not do new IP. Let's take the IPs that we know that the gamers all know and love, right? And they say, well, we were able to successfully do something like that with Rainbow Six. How we turn that into a games of service. So that's going to be maybe we did that with that game, but maybe we're going to try and make these other Clancy games into this and see if we can't catch a home run right here, right? So then they came out with the insider previews, insider alpha or test or whatever, and I've took part in some of them for Heartland for the division. They did X Defiant early testing, and all that kind of stuff. I think the feedback early on the Ghost Recon one is why that got canceled so fast. X Defiant was something that changed behind the scenes quite a bit because I remember the first time I had played it actually with the Ubisoft testing thing, like it was absolutely the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen from the Clancy brand, where they were kind of just bastardizing it to the crazy degree. And you can go back and look at their initial reveal for X Defiant and kind of see the tone that they were going with X Defiant originally. And that game was like, wow, I mean, you had third echelon agents like going out there going, just acting all stupid and stuff. And then you're talking about the Clancy brand, right? You're serious, tactical, uh, spies and, stuff like that. Like, you don't go and act all like you're at the fucking X Games. Like not with that, right? And it was kind of crazy seeing that theme throughout X Defiant, and it kind of made me realize why they went with the name X Defiant. They were trying to bring that energy and that kind of attitude to it. Then they kind of majorly shifted tone. But even when the game got better and better behind the scenes, it was always kind of like, why does this exist? Because it was like them trying to capture the Call of Duty audience and capture some of the negativity that people had with Call of Duty. And I remember saying at the time, is like, hey, this game's probably going to have a little bit of a following at first, but then like the second a Call of Duty game comes out again, everybody's just going to switch. Why? Because Call of Duty is going to be better. And like, you can have certain people like certain aspects of something, but the quality that Call of Duty has with the gunplay, with the graphics, with the just the way the game looks and feels, like presentation wise, they're not going to do that, right? And there's a reason why Call of Duty's amassed the audience that it has, and it's just kind of crazy for Ubisoft to think that they could kind of do their own thing with that, kind of put a twist on it, make it into like a hero shooter version of Call of Duty in a way as well, with abilities and stuff, and say, well, this is going to be kind of our entry into that genre. And I just saw the writing on the wall. Like, you don't go and try and chase that. It's just not going to end well for you. And as news has been coming out recently, that X Defiant is not doing well. It's not doing well at all. So overall, we're gonna see what happens with that game. I think eventually it'll end up sunsetting, um, much like their other games of service free to play plans. I think Heartland was canceled as well. I can't remember for sure. Yeah, the other game I see you, Jasper. Thanks. I knew you'd remember Jasper. It's Hyperscape. Yeah, the game that they had that was kind of their answer to Fortnite was Hyperscape, and that lasted a little bit. People didn't really like it, and it shut down. I see also Jim Ryan's first party GoFundMe account also headed the answer to Hyperscape there as well. Appreciate that, guys. So overall, it's like they've been chasing these trends. They were trying to capture their version of certain kinds of games and all this other kind of stuff. And they were just doing too much of it, right? And then we heard from behind the scenes about games like Splinter Cell, why they weren't really hadn't released a Splinter Cell in so long is because they couldn't figure out how to monetize it. And it's like, wow, okay, like just release a game and maybe it'll sell if it's good. And we'd heard about tons of developers behind the scenes that like had pitches for Splinter Cell games. They even had vertical slices for Splinter Cell games. That even worked on Splinter Cell games and stuff and got to certain points and they get canceled or moved on, and like there's just way too much shit of that, not only at Ubisoft, but in the video games industry from the big publishers. When you talk about one of the biggest problems in the industry, it's that. It's a waste. Just wasting funds on chasing things behind the scenes that never see the light of day, all for the sake of trying to catch the next big thing that nobody's asking for, right? You always got to be kind of first in one of those to really take off like that, or you got to do it way better than the other, right? You got to be first, you got to do it way better than. And Ubisoft isn't going to do a way better than Call of Duty, right? I mean, they're not going to do a way better than Fortnite. It's just not going to happen right now. So, what Ubisoft needs to do, and what my argument was back then when we were talking about this, is do what you do well, Ubisoft, and that's make those great Clancy style uh, hardcore shooters that people are missing in the industry right now. There's a huge hole for those kinds of games. Stealth, tactics, all these other kind of things. They were the pinnacle. They set the tone. They set the standard. Ubisoft also was doing tons of different kinds of games like platformers, like Rayman and stuff like that. Where are those? Overall, it seems like they've just been chasing too much. Whenever they have one success, everything else that they make has to follow that model. And that's led to this watered down focus group market research led company that's lost the heart and soul of video games. And that's ultimately, I think, what gamers have kind of started to feel with Ubisoft games. And I think the reason why some of these other games even coming out, even if there's quality, even if they're good, even if they're solid, it's kind of like gamers just see that Ubisoft tag and they just were like, well, um, I'm kind of interested, but just not really. And that energy, it seems like it kind of permeates through every Ubisoft announcement now. Every Ubisoft thing that kind of is out there now is just kind of like, well, all right, it's Ubisoft. But man, like back in the day, they had games like Gra 2. They had the whole Splinter Cell franchise. They had the Rainbow Six games. But even beyond that, Far Cry, uh, like they invented, or pretty much they ran with that whole open world first person shooter. They were kind of the first. They had Crytek. They did a deal with Crytek, and they published Crytek's game Far Cry. They have since made it themselves with all the other Far Cries since then. Meanwhile, Crytek went on to do Crisis and then other things. Right now, they're just came out with Hunt Showdown's big update, which is I think they're doing pretty good with that. But overall, yeah, they've innovated and did so many different things. Assassin's Creed, the first Assassin's Creed, back in the day, they were doing so many new big IPs and franchises that were taking off, and it was like, wow, these guys are great. And then they were keeping up with their franchises, innovating and pushing them forward, giving the fans the next one, and then the next that people were like, oh, that's even better than the last. It's better than the last. Oh, they added this. Yeah, it's gonna be amazing. They always push forward with the graphics and the fidelity on those games and making the games better without necessarily having to chase a certain model. Then what happened is Far Cry started to become so successful and Assassin's Creed started to become so successful that their leadership decided all of a sudden we need to make all of our games like this. So no longer can we do, you know, uh these big franchises. No longer can we just kind of keep them into what they are. We need to turn them into something else because that's what's popular right now. We've dictated what's popular with these franchises, so now we see that everything else needs to follow that. And if it doesn't fit, then it's not going to get greenlit, right? And it's lost the heart and soul of what made Ubisoft in the first place. And I feel like the what Ubisoft is now is just kind of a bland company. It's just it's just overall bland. They have talent like crazy. They have so many talented developers. You can play any of their games and you can see the quality, right? You can see the graphics, you can see the level of detail, you can see the world and how good the games perform in these massive worlds that they build and all this other kind of stuff. It's like, wow, that's great, right? But they're kind of losing the character of and diversity of their franchises. They started chasing other IP besides their own because they had this fascination with the movie industry. They were saying, "Hey, like we want to merge, film and gaming into one thing," and so they started doing deals with some of the big movie IPs and stuff like that. Which I mean, they have some decent stuff out there and some good games in it, but man, wouldn't people rather play a fucking Splinter Cell than Avatar? If you're gonna do a single player game, like, and put that much effort and everything into it, like, it just doesn't make sense where they went. Then also the games that have been successful, I feel like people are honestly just kind of tired of them. Like if Far Cry, as much as I love it, obviously the sentiment that's been out there, even though if I agree with it or not, is that people are sick of the formula, right? I always kind of uh gave an argument against that because if any of the franchises at Ubisoft are to stick with the formula, it's Far Cry because they're the ones that invented it, right? So I don't necessarily want Far Cry to be something else, but you can still take it and make it still fresh and new and feel good again to bring some other kind of level of excitement to it. But I don't want it to become some kind of linear thing because Far Cry was the originator of that, right? So if any franchise deserves that, it should be Far Cry. But not every other game needs to be like that. Not every other game needs to be this massive, huge open world thing that kind of loses the character of what makes the games awesome in the first place, right? So I don't know. I think ultimately this is why Ubisoft is in the position. I think they just lost the excitement from fans. I think they lost the excitement of some of the properties that people used to be excited for. I think they lost the edge a little bit, right? It's become too much. I'm not gonna say like Disney because Disney actually has better stuff even than Ubisoft. So I know some people might think that's crazy that I said that, but like I really like the MCU. I really like some of the Star Wars stuff that's out there, and I like um, things like X-Men '97 and like things like that that have come out. Like for me, like Disney does a lot of different things. Now there's some things that a lot of people don't like, and that's fine. But like Ubisoft is kind of like they're like Pong calls it they're like fast food, like McDonald's, right? But like they've become almost like the big fast food franchise that's like kind of dying. Their IPs are not what they used to be. The games are lacking the excitement when they get announced and they get shown. Things like this, right? People have been begging for a Splinter Cell game for forever. At every single big summer showcase, there was always speculation for like 10 years. Oh, will we finally get the next Splinter Cell? Is the next Splinter Cell going to be there? Is the next Splinter Cell going to be there? I can't wait. Are we going to hear the three green light or the boo? Are we going to hear that shit? Is it going to happen? And remember back, even like 7 or 8 years ago, there was a lot of people thinking there was going to be Splinter Cell shown. There was a lot of talk around then. And then even later, even more. And it's like, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? It's not there. It's not there. People have been talking about it all behind the scenes. And now people stop talking because it's been so fucking long. And then they had the gall to finally announce that they are doing a Splinter Cell remake. And how stupid are they? How stupid is Ubisoft that this is how they announce the Splinter Cell remake? They announced the Splinter Cell remake like 2 years ago in a blog post. And just this casual blog post on their website. How are you going to do that? How are you going to miss that moment of like, hey, everybody, guess what? We're back. Splinter Cell's back. Generate that hype, generate that excitement. Get the casual fans that, or the fans that don't even understand what Splinter Cell is, asking questions like, why is everybody so excited? Oh, this is, oh, I got to get hype around this. Oh, it's coming back. Oh, yeah. Right. Um, they just have lost the plot of like what people are looking for. Instead, they're just chasing the dollar of monetization and trying to be some kind of hybrid entertainment company. I just let's just get back to making badass Ubisoft games, right? Eastside Vandal says Agatha is actually getting good reviews. Yeah, we watched the first couple episodes. We really like it. Captain Crunch says people don't have the cash for new release mediocre games that need months of patches. I will say based on the quality, honestly, of some of the Ubisoft games, I'll say they probably launch um, at or better than at launch than a lot of the other big publishers' games. EA, 2K, um, even Microsoft or whatever. A lot of them seem to need updates and patches, right? But Ubisoft, I'll say, is maybe even some of the more kind of polished sometimes at launch than some of the others. Some companies get a pass on it, some don't. I think they're just lacking that cool factor to make people being willing to overlook some of those things. You look at a game like Space Marine 2, right? It has some glitches, it has some bugs. This is overall really well polished, but people are willing to overlook that stuff, right? Whereas like a game like Star Wars Outlaws has like a couple bugs or whatever, they get ultra highlighted. So it's just a disparity in perception sometimes that happens with excitement or willing to overlook things in games. That happens a lot. Um, Jim Ryan's first party GoFundMe account says the King Kong game was great. Yeah, I remember playing that game. That was like a 360 launch title, right? Yeah, Lad says I love Ubisoft, but Skull and Bones didn't really need to exist either. Well, they could have just released it a long time ago if they had just stuck to an original idea, and I think it would have had. I don't know how it's doing. That one might be one that's done pretty well behind the scenes for them. I'm not sure, but overall, like it could have been huge if they had released like 4 years or 3 years after Assassin's Creed Black Flag came out and had spun it off into a Black Flag franchise and just ran with that and made it into Pirates Assassins. Focus on the pirate side and stuff. Like they had something there. Instead, they tinkered with how to make this big multiplayer thing and all this other kind of stuff and just dicked around behind the scenes. Eventually putting out a game that was not what everybody wanted originally. It would even gave them the idea to create it in the first place. And again, all these changes were driven based on what? Monetization, right? How do we make the most ongoing money off of this type of franchise and these games, as opposed to creativity, creative direction? Only Tony says Space Marine 2 gives me the gears energy I need until E-Day. Hell yeah, dude. It's an amazing game. I've put in about 8 hours into it so far. That game is fucking intense. I'm like taking it in stages. Like I'll play like a mission or two, and then I'll like step away. Um, and I'm just kind of loving the story and the world of it right now. I don't know how long the campaign is, but where the story is going now, it is absolutely amazing. Skullbones should have been $40 like Helldivers 2. Yes, that would have made a lot of sense. Um, Last is 100% they had the fan base back then with Black Flag. Yeah, they take too long dicking around behind the scenes, like a lot of these big companies do. And it's to chase these ideas, to chase these themes, these um monetization models, these how do we make it more formulaic based on market research and the kind of games that are engaging with players, stuff like that. What does the focus group say? Like, and then something that they've been doing a lot of, which you could some could try and applaud them for this because I mean maybe it has helped some, but the amount of like the insider testings and the feedback things that they're doing, it's like they've even kind of promoted this on some of their streams and some of their showcases that they've had in recent years, talking about this stuff, about the community shaping their games and stuff behind the scenes before they're even out. That is a horrible fucking idea. I gotta say, to it's one thing to get some players like out there testing it and all this kind of stuff, but the amount of time it's taking for them to keep doing these different test things and to keep testing shit out and to keep making changes and evolving the games completely and scrapping everything and restarting over and all this other kind of stuff while they keep doing insider tests and alpha and oh, we got horrible feedback on this one. Oh shit. Oh, let's just redo everything. Like that just tells you everything you need to know about they're trying to make the game that is going to engage those players and stay engaged, and they're relying 100% on the feedback from that community, right? Which is you could say is cool and all, and I think there's something to that. However, what you end up doing is end up taking way too fucking long to make these games, and it ends up being shaped by just players that don't have the vision of the creators and originally. Like some games are going to fail, some are going to be successful, right? But the best games for me have been led by creative visionaries having a badass team under them and sticking to their guns about the kind of things that they want to make. And then you worry about how do we make the most money off of this, right? But you lead in that direction first, and then you can see the fruits of your labor. Some of them are going to fail, some of them are going to be successful. But if you dick around for years and years, wasting money and time and effort and throwing shit in the trash all the time, then guess what? Is your game development costs end up skyrocketing, and your expectations of the game need to be way higher. And then sometimes you end up dicking around so much that you end up canceling the games even before they even ever have a damn chance to take off in the first place. Let the creatives lead with the direction of the games that they want to make. Then you figure out how to add the things you need to do to make the money off of it. Pong says, um, everyone just learn to love strategy games and be happy forever. We eating good over here. Fuck yeah, we are, man. Dude, we are absolutely eating gloriously. Um, we're in like this. You talk about golden age of gaming. We're in a golden age of strategy games right now, and it's like a genre that like the masses, as far as like everyday gamers that are just typical console type gamers, are just kind of overlooking for the most part. These games aren't like popular on streams as much. I mean, StarCraft used to be, but like ultimately these games aren't popular as much for streamers, or like they're not like gonna be what the most famous streamers and all that stuff are playing, or like what is everybody's gonna be talking about and stuff. And for me, it's kind of a shame because like these are great games that have huge fan bases. You could say it's niche, right? But there's still a lot of people, right? They have a huge fan bases still, as much as a lot of other genres that get talked about a lot more, or more than a lot of genres that actually that get talked about a lot more. And from the everyday gamer and casual gamers and stuff, like these strategy games are reviewing well, they're playing amazing, they're releasing on console, some of them, and finding new audiences. I think Phil Spencer even said himself, like more people were playing Age of Empires and some of their other big games that they had, and he was super happy about that. Yet a game like Age of Mythology Retold comes out, reviews well, releases day and date on console and PC, shows that it's super well polished at launch, has content already in the pipeline. It's in Game Pass day and date. Yet even the Xbox community themselves, gamers are just largely ignoring it, right? And not it's not being celebrated or championed as a win or anything like that, which is strange. And it just kind of goes that people have put that kind of genre into the back burner as something that doesn't matter. But it's weird to me because there are enough people playing it and a lot of people are enjoying them. That it's just not the vocal crowd. It's just not the vocal people, right? It's the strategy game fans, which there are a lot of. But if there was more vocalness about it, about these games, maybe more people would give them a chance. Maybe more people give it a try and realize that they like these games too. The other niche genres get talked about a lot that actually have less players than these strategy games. It's just interesting, right? It's interesting how certain genres just don't get talked about or championed whatsoever, no matter what. They don't even count as like releases. I was watching a clip of Hargeet arguing with somebody on a Boom show. I don't remember who it was because I wasn't familiar with the guy, but there was a level of ignorance towards the Xbox pipeline and the platform in general, just about the how many games there are from first party, the game, how many games are actually releasing, how many games from third party companies hit day and date into Game Pass, and all these other kind of things. And I think part of it is because games like this just kind of get skipped over in the mentality of a lot of people. It's like without seeing as a lot of people talk about it online, it's like it doesn't exist. If many people it just doesn't even register in their minds, but it is there. It exists and it's excellent and a lot of people are playing it. So for me, they count as they should. I recommend everybody try some of these games if you haven't. If you're not into it, that's fine, right? Yeah, I think that was maybe who it was, Brett. I wasn't familiar with the person, but I just saw this kind of like obviously they didn't weren't very like informed on Xbox, right? Because it was like a parroting of the casual game crowd that just has this perception about Xbox but doesn't actually know what's going on. And you could kind of tell that's just kind of what the words that were being said and used is kind of that old narratives about Xbox still. And it's like you're just missing the boat on what's actually out there, or familiar. You're not even familiar with it, right? Because um, is obvious with not realizing how many games actually even hit the service, right? Um, Eastside Vandal says, "I wish folks played Spellforce on Xbox. It's literally OG Warcraft 3, so good. I need to get to it. I Pong was telling me to play that one. That one I missed. I've been playing Ara. I've been playing Age of Mythology Retold, and I played a good amount of Age 2 Definitive Edition, Age 4 less than, but still quite a bit. And I'm excited for to hopefully have a resurgence of StarCraft. I would love to see that. But this is like something that I'm celebrating about Xbox. It's like kind of the contrast to what we're talking about with Ubisoft. When we're talking about Ubisoft, we're talking about not enough variety. We're talking about all making things kind of the same. We're talking about kind of losing the edge on like making cool making your games like fun for the gamers they're intended for, right? And letting franchises and IP die that was those games that people looked forward to from your company. Whereas Microsoft has gone back to that. Xbox has like gone back to that. Like with all the games that they've greenlit and kicked off, acquiring the companies that are making some of those games and then investing in the variety of genre and IP that's out there because they want some of everything in Game Pass. They don't want just one thing. So that's what something that we've been talking about for a long time has been a positive, and I think they're doing it honestly better than anybody in the industry as far as the amount of different kinds of games that they're creating and investing in has been absolutely amazing to see. And we're all going to be relishing in that, and over the years to come, and I'll be playing these games. And I think, regardless of the console war narratives that are out there and all that kind of stuff, we'll still be playing them and enjoying these games. And I think ultimately, a lot of the conversations that have been going on this past year don't matter too much. With the whole putting games on PlayStation, all that kind of stuff. It's interesting business wise, but ultimately, I think Xbox is going to keep pushing forward and having a lot of success with this stuff. Um, Meanwhile, just to throw Ubisoft where I mentioned earlier, that sometimes I will defend Ubisoft in some things, right? They are one of these companies that they have also tried to do right by the gamer in a lot of ways. So as much as they've lost kind of like the edge on making exciting, awesome games to look forward to that people are talking about with a lot of hype and excitement, I got to give them props as a company for this other stuff. They have an excellent subscription service where you get actual great value for the amount of content that they have when they are hitting their pipeline. They give you the complete ultimate editions and their service. They're available on console and PC. So if you sign up to the service, you get day and date releases for all their big games. Plus, uh, you can do cross save, cross progression between PC and Xbox. Something that I think all publishers need to start doing more of, having this cross ecosystem for purchases, especially between PC and consoles. Sometimes I have to make a decision. Am I going to buy this game on PC? Am I going to buy it on my Xbox? I hate having to make that decision. I love when I can buy a game and I get to play it wherever I am or wherever I want to, right? Eastside Vandal says we need a spin-off StarCraft game like Halo Wars that is designed specifically for console. Halo Wars nailed RTS controls on console. Well, I think they could do like the traditional StarCraft game. They could do. They could just put that on. StarCraft's been on console before. It was on 60. Is on Nintendo 64. So that StarCraft can be on console. So they just need to update it with console controls, or I would like a remaster for 2 where they do the kind of the Age 2 definitive edition or Age Mythology Retold treatment and bring that out and then have controller support for it. Um and then meanwhile work on a new StarCraft, right? Because I think a new StarCraft's going to take a lot longer. A team to look at that could do it. Maybe they need to get some talent because a lot of the StarCraft team has left. There's a team, I think it's 2B Games that's working with. God, what's that? I can't remember the name. They're working on the Tempest Rising game. It's just like Command and Conquer. It's 2B Games is helping. Um, I want to say it's like People that made Ghost Runner, I think. What's the name of the damn team? I gotta look this up. It's gonna bother me. Tempest Rising. Slipgate Ironworks. So it's a Saber Interactive and 3D Realms published by um, Slipgate Ironworks in association with 2B Games. I don't know who the people are doing the bulk of the work is, but I think it could be the 2B Games. I'm not sure. However, whoever it is, that team should could do it, right? It could work on StarCraft. So maybe somebody needs to look at acquiring them, right? That's what I would say. Maybe Xbox. They need some more. I know World's Edge could do some help, but World's Edge also works with some of these RTS developers as partners to help with their games too. Xbox Gamer says StarCraft would take 8 to 9 years if they started today. Yeah, so I was thinking StarCraft 2, like definitive edition or whatever, do the age treatment with console support at launch. That would be amazing to see. Army Vet, shout out to you, Army Vet. Says a member for 4 months. What about $50 a month sub for all games on Xbox? For like all games? Like every fucking game that comes out, $50 a month. I mean, I'd pay for it, but I think that could be too good to be true. Like that they're getting all the publishers in involved for that. That'd have to be some kind of crazy deal, right? I don't know how much money they would have to pay out to all these pubs and all these smaller developers and all these. I mean, it's just like crazy. The way Game Pass works now is like Sarah Bond has like a truckload of cash to use every per year and divvy it up between their Game Pass deals, and so she's going and using that as she can best see fit to bolster the Game Pass lineup with partnerships and stuff. I can imagine how they would do that to make all games. Would be crazy to see though. I mean, I'd pay for it. I'd pay $50 a month for every game. Hell yeah. That's $600 a year. I definitely spend way more than that on games every year. I can't remember how much it was I spent like a couple years ago. I actually did the math and looked at it, and I was like a little surprised how much money I had spent on games. I was like, oh shit. Game Pass actually saves a lot of money. So, but I got to give props to Ubisoft on their service, Ubisoft Plus, and the whole um, ecosystem that they have for that is actually really good. The other thing that they do well is they update their games for free to take advantage of hardware. Like so when Series X and S came out, PS5 came out, they gave a lot of updates to their existing games at no cost to gamers to make them play at higher resolutions, at higher frame rates, and all that kind of stuff. And it completely changed the way some of the games play and feel. And I got to give them props for that too. That's very consumer uh, focused. It's something I think all the publishers should do instead of charging $10 for it or remastering games that don't need it, that are not that old or that hold up really well. The free updates and stuff I really, really appreciate. Jesse James says, I'm not sold on Sarah Bond yet. Need to see how she handles the next generation console. That'll be the test for Sarah Bond, I think. Now, she's done a lot of great work with Xbox and doing deals with publishers. A lot of the deals you see for games going into Game Pass day and date that are third party games is because of her. A lot of the work that's been done in Japan and other places to get some of these brands that have been skipping Xbox, a lot of these companies that have been skipping Xbox and now putting their games on Xbox, like Sega and Atlas and things like that. That's also her heavy involvement with that stuff. So like overall, I think she's done a great job and added a lot and made the Xbox ecosystem better. But I do agree that when the next generation console hardware comes out, because now she is in control of hardware, she will have kind of a spotlight on that. She was the one that announced and said that it is going to be the biggest leap ever or whatever in gaming for the next Xbox, which is bold words. That is a bold statement. We're also going to probably see multiple form factors as well. There's supposed to be a handheld coming. She's also behind trying to make sure that the platform is better accessible everywhere and playable better on other devices that aren't Xbox devices. So she's got her work cut out for her. But overall, with the software side and the partnership, she's done a great job. So we'll see what happens with the hardware stuff. I have faith because as I think the industry is kind of going, it's becoming more where the companies are starting to see the console gamer as a stagnant market, and they're focusing on trying to get the most out of those consumers, which is kind of a bad thing. But at the same time, if we look at it as a potential positive, that could mean we have more enthusiast based hardware with more options available for the consumer that plays on console to entice them to buy more hardware. It has to be more appealing and less here's two cheap options or a cheap option to get you in to gaming, right? It's they now I think are going to be selling hardware that is like, okay, well, this is really high end for a console. And then here's another option for like form factor, right? Like handheld and stuff. So there's kind of leaning into the enthusiast while still having kind of a casual market cheaper option out there as well, right? So not everybody's gonna want to jump to PC gaming. Xbox is still gonna have their ecosystem. They're still gonna make hardware, and I think overall, as consumers, we can look at that and be like, "Hey, I think it's a good thing because we have Game Pass, and that's those devices that we buy are guaranteed to have Game Pass. So that means you're guaranteed to have your games day and date from all these different developers that they've acquired, making awesome games for it. So that's why I haven't ever been down on the Xbox with all the other news that's been happening this year. Um, Kelly says Ubisoft Plus is just too expensive when compared to Game Pass Ultimate. Every game subscription period is going to pale in comparison to Game Pass Ultimate. The value you get for Game Pass Ultimate is absolutely fucking bananas, right? Um, you can look at even something like it's a cloud, like a cloud service or a streaming service where like and what is it GeForce Now, right? GeForce Now is about cloud gaming, getting access to your library via cloud gaming, right? For the better version of that, when it's regular price is the same price as Game Pass Ultimate also, but you don't even get any fucking games. Like you still have to buy the games. This is just a service of a really high quality cloud streaming. Like Xbox, you also get a good quality cloud streaming option as part of Game Pass Ultimate also. Like so you get the cloud, you get the streaming, you get the Game Pass games day and date, you get EA Play in there as well. I mean, it's just absolutely bonkers. So I don't expect Ubisoft to be able to even have a close to value there. But what I would say Ubisoft Plus is better than is PlayStation Plus Extra or Premium. As if you look at the value of the price, Ubisoft actually gives you day and date games on their franchises. Plus, you're getting the Ultimate editions, and they also have the better ecosystem, which goes to PC and console with the value there. So I would put if I was ranking gaming subscription services as far as like value proposition, I would go Xbox Then I would go Ubisoft. Then I would go PlayStation, and then probably uh, EA is a hard one. I don't know. I haven't. I don't not familiar enough because I've only used the EA Play that's part of Game Pass, and it's kind of part of Game Pass. So I can't really judge EA's separately. But yeah, I would put Ubisofts over PlayStations for sure. They don't put. I mean, PlayStation. Everybody's celebrating Last of Us Part One finally going into their service. I mean, they don't even fucking put their games in there. So what the fuck? Why get excited and celebrate that service? It's such shit. Um, yeah, and the only reason you need it really is for online. Calorie says EA Play Pro, which is day and date, $17 per month, or $120 a year, which is $10 a month, which seems like a good price for Ubisoft. Um, yeah. Psycho says Nintendo's fourth. Oh yeah, Nintendo's the only good thing about Nintendo's is it's cheap. Yeah, that's the only thing good about Nintendo's is it's cheap. There's really nothing great to say. It's cool seeing some of the old classic games that they have in there, but it's cheap. So, but yeah, it sucks that Nintendo started charging for online and stuff too, because like Nintendo doesn't even have a good online service. They don't even have the basics, right? So it's hard to celebrate anything for them when it comes to online gaming. Yeah, they have some games that are playable online and have thriving online communities in them and stuff, but like the connection to each other and all that kind of stuff is just broken. There's no like actual unifying service at the heart of it. It's like old school servers kind of, it seems like. Back in the day before like Xbox Live existed, but they're still making you pay for it. The whole friend code thing and all that shit. Horrible. We'll see. I'm hoping they innovate on that with the Switch 2. That is something that really needs to happen. Nintendo, especially with the new day and age and gaming coming, like they really got to get with it with this stuff. So I'm hoping that they do that. Maybe they'll partner with Discord or something. And no, they'll probably be afraid of that. I don't know. Um, they got to figure something out. Yeah, but yeah. Speaking of back to kind of what we're talking about with Xbox and the pipeline and the variety. Like I was kind of comparing it to Ubisoft, and I think overall like Xbox is on the right track. With all of this, I and when everybody was freaking out all this year about Xbox games going to PlayStation, all this other kind of stuff is like everybody's freaking out and saying how Xbox is kind of abandoning them or whatever. I was just looking at all the games that are slated to come out and the fact that I'm going to get to play them in on Game Pass on console and PC. And I'm just well, okay, cool, because I'm looking at it and when all this freakouts happening, it's like, oh no, that this means I can't do what that I could yesterday. Everything's the same for me. Everything is the same for me. In fact, you could actually look at it like the games actually have maybe even a better chance of having more success, which also could end up being better for me. As long as they make hardware, then I'm good, which has been my stance from the get go on that stuff. So, but yeah, I agree with the whole Sarah Bond comment. We'll see what she does. Brett Bingham says PS fans who are saying Ghost of Yote won't come to PC day and date will be sorely disappointed. Sorry. First was Concord, next is Horizon Zero Dawn remake, next is Ghost of Yote. Yeah, we'll see, man. I don't know. Like PlayStation's done a lot of double speak. They had their investors kind of thing they did earlier this year. It was like 2 months ago or something, and they had talked, and at that time they told everybody, like console is still what matters for them and all this other kind of stuff. And like the big franchises, they're focused on making it, for console and all this other kind of stuff. So this will be like the single player adventure games and all that kind of stuff, which they said PlayStation's always been about. So this will be a test. I think regardless, the window keeps shrinking over time and eventually it'll happen. I don't know if it'll be Ghost of Yotei or not. I hope so, because that will make me not have FOMO over it and I can just get it day and date. But I have a feeling it'll probably be 6 months to a year, but we'll see. I wouldn't necessarily compare it to a remaster or a remake or Concord, because Concord was an online game and they did the same thing with Helldivers 2. Concord, I think they wanted to do PC to try and capture that PC audience for multiplayer. Horizon Zero Dawn remake makes sense because Horizon Zero Dawn's already on PC. So updating that to um, the whole remake version for $10, they're going to try and sell it to the same people that already own it on Steam and PC. So for me, I won't really look at those as examples as meaning day and date going forward. However, regardless, the window's already been shrinking, right? The window's already been shrinking. Eventually, they'll get there. I don't think Ghost of Yotei will be the first one, but of those kind of games, but I hope it is. We'll see. Last says I'm looking for every day for handheld leaks. Chip efficiency are becoming very good. Yeah, I'm curious how the Switch 2 is gonna handle with they're saying that it's like PS4, like stronger than a PS4 when it's not docked, right? Or and then between a Pro and a PS4 Pro and Xbox One X, between that and a Series S and X when it is docked. Now that being said, also you have new technology that's going to help with resolutions and stuff like that also. So we'll see how the Switch 2 is going to handle. But it also makes me more curious about Xbox's handheld. Like what are they going to do? What kind of price point are they going to be able to get it out at? And what kind of power are they going to get it? Brett Bingham says, one factor you are forgetting, um, public backlash. Sony may tell you you don't like it, don't buy it, but that just means they'll try to sell it to someone else. You mean the public backlash with Ghost of Yotei and the lead character? I think that's going to fade away. Like maybe I hope it does. Like that, and I don't think that like they would all of a sudden decide now, hey, we got to make sure PC is ready, available day and date because of this. I mean, that would cause even more delays and all this other kind of stuff. Because if they hadn't been planning for the PC release right away, I don't think they would have it ready by then. It's easier for them just to focus on the one um, target right now at launch. But yeah, any of this backlash happening with the character stuff, I don't think it'll have anything to do with it. But it could cause them to go sooner, maybe. I think I think the sales will determine more than anything how soon it ends up going to PC. Strong Keller says stronger than a PS4, but has DLSS. Also, 12 gigabytes of RAM should be a big bump over the 4 gigabytes of RAM the Switch has now. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see, man. I really want to enjoy the Switch too. I did not enjoy the Switch. A PC port would take less than 10 months for PlayStation to complete. Yeah. Yeah, I think maybe like I said 6 months to a year is what my guess would be. That's my guess for Ghost of Yotei is 6 months to a year. More likely a year, but we'll see. like I said, it's shrinking, but I don't think it'll be day and date. I hope it is. I want it to be. Traybon says some people are just doing too much about female care. You mean like caring too much or like um yeah, that's a whole another conversation, man. It like I don't get it. I don't get it at all. It doesn't bother me whatsoever. I like a lot of the characters in the games. I don't care what the person is that's acting as the character, like who I don't care what they say or talk about in their personal lives or on social media. Like none of that stuff matters to me. I don't know why all of a sudden like everybody cares about what everybody else thinks and says all the time. And I know it's because social media is a platform and people have voices and they want to speak use their voices and they want to talk and they want to say all that stuff. But for me, it's like it's just a person. And what they say doesn't ultimately matter because their opinion on anything is no more valuable than my own. Everybody has the equal right to have a feeling and opinion and thoughts about what they want. But it seems like so much outrage has happened about what people think and feel and stuff all the time. And that's dominates conversation. It creates mobs where people gang together and rally against things, and then that generates another side that is against that, and it's just an ongoing, constant barrage of noise, and ultimately, none of it actually fucking matters because it's just a bunch of noise. And yeah, it can cause change, some of it for good, some of it for bad. Sometimes some things happen and some things change that shouldn't change. Sometimes things change that need to change, but ultimately it's the dollars, the sales and of these things and the money that's made from these companies that affects it at the end of the day, like the most, right? But yeah, it the whole female character thing, it's like, yeah, when the character's announced, the game's announced, I'm excited to see the game. I'm like, "Oh, cool, that's interesting. Oh, wow, they went with the female character this time." That's as much as it goes for me, right? But then I like you see, I go on Twitter or whatever. Well, yeah, what's everybody thinking of Ghost of Yute? You see this whole other massive conversation, and people are attacking people and all this other kind of stuff. It's like, what are we doing? You know? But I guess people can act how they want, say what they want. I guess so. Captain Destruction says, I think the company heads start to see the cash they get from PC, especially if it's a solid game. And day and date, they will start to put games on PC sooner. Eventually, it will be day and date. Yeah, 100%. That's what I'm saying. Eventually, they already, I think they're already planning on this. Like, let's just be real. Like, they're just not where they are yet to be able to do that every time because they're still having to worry so much about the console market. They haven't established a big PC market for themselves yet. They don't even have a PC storefront, right? It came out like 2 years ago that they were supposed to have a PC storefront in the works, and it's still we haven't seen that, right? Now, obviously, that PC storefront isn't going to necessarily compete with Steam or anything like that. But you will have some gamers that they could get special deals or special offers, or maybe you have some kind of uh, thing with your Plus and all that kind of stuff, to where you have an added benefit if you're a PS Plus subscriber, or other things that they could do with it to make it beneficial financially for them. And if you release the games there and Steam and kind of work on that, I think they would make more obviously on the games they sell in their own storefront than just releasing them in Steam. So I think that's something that they want to get out there. We'll see. It was supposed to be in the works. It was reported on that it was happening, but it's still taking so long. The other thing is that they haven't had a whole lot of releases from first party, that they actually have control over this stuff. So, like, if we want to be real, over the last year and a half, like, what do they really have that is, hey, yeah, every game's going to day and date and stuff? It's like, yeah, well, they've had the games of servicey games and stuff like that. Those did, but the regular games, we haven't even had anything to really see or test it on yet. Like the last big first single player first game or whatever that they have that's their model was Spider-Man 2, right? So, and they don't even have one this year. Like this year, they're absent of those kind of games. Period. The games that they say matter, the only games that they say really, really matter, are they have zero of this year from Sony first party. So it's kind of hard to dictate like what is their model going forward? What are they actually going to do? The only thing we have to go on is that they are porting everything to PC later. Right now, they have talked about it, even with the um updated thing that's making the rounds on Twitter now with their whole focus on the future of PlayStation and stuff. A lot of people are making big things about them talking about certain things on that, but overall, you see a lot of talk also about being in as many places as possible. That is going to be the change that we see, but they're so far behind Microsoft and Xbox where they were with that. Like Xbox already had its store on PC. Xbox um, started putting their console games day and date on PC earlier, right? But then they also had the subscription. Then they put that on. Like they're just PlayStation's so far behind with that stuff, and they don't even have anywhere near the amount of developers that Xbox has to do these things as well. So they're getting there, but they just don't have the resources. And if they risk the pissing off the fan base and selling the hardware right now too much, then they're doing almost like a disservice. Just like they're waiting for the right time, right? And the right time is when they things have adjusted more in the gaming industry and people have transitioned more and are starting to appreciate this whole play anywhere you can and all that kind of stuff. Right now, people gamers for some reason are kind of like attacking it and against it because like I want my console to be special. I want my console to be special. So like PlayStation's toting the line with marketing and messaging, doing what they want to do with some of their games that they know need it to even have a chance, but using the other ones as marketing still for their console. And they're in this like middle ground. Eventually it's going to shift and more as even they've said towards releasing their games everywhere. Whether that means like Xbox consoles in the future, I don't know. That would be crazy, but they are releasing a game on the Switch day and date. They have released games on PC day and date. Eventually, those big franchises will also happen day and date on PC. It's just how long? It's shrinking. It's shrinking, and it's going to continue to shrink. Sup, Verg? Brizzle, how's it going? Um, Callie says she's a well-written character. Then cool. If the entire story is about how the evil patriarchy has kept her down, and if women were ruling the wars would have never started. Then it's a skip. We have to see what the stories are, man. Probably something to do with like, oh, my family was killed, and I'm gonna have to take and get revenge or something like that. Probably something like that. Um, that's what I would assume. Treybone 408 says, kind of like Mortal Kombat, people bitched about there's not that many female characters. They add females, and all of a sudden, Mortal Kombat is woke. Shake my head, make it make sense. I don't think day and date will save PlayStation. They need to do more, in my opinion, is they need to be bought. All I want my console to do is play the games I want to play. That's the same for me, man. Like I want the service I want, and I want the games I want. And as long as it does that, then I'm super happy. And I want more games. I want more of everything. Yeah, Mortal Kombat. I've the newest Mortal Kombat was awesome. Mortal Kombat 1 is freaking great. I love it. The only criticism I have is Megan Fox's voice acting is horrible. Please don't ever have her portray another character in a video game again, because maybe the worst voice acting I've heard is even in a fighting game character. Oh, it's just atrocious. I can't remember the name of the character she plays, but like it's just bad. Brett Bingham says, "Do you think Lego Horizon will release on Xbox 3 to 12 months after it releases on Switch and PS5? That would be crazy. I wouldn't say it's like I wouldn't say it's gonna happen, but it wouldn't surprise me. I think it's a slim. I'll say it's a slim possibility. Slim possibility. To where I'm like, okay, that's interesting, right? That they did that. Um, I think it's possible. I think it was omitted from Xbox just for the sake of the narratives, right? Just for the sake of not paying attention to Xbox and treating them lesser than, and they could say, well, like, we're only interested in putting games where the gamers are, and they could try and use that as a slight towards Xbox or whatever. So everything they're going to do is kind of in that narrative now. Now, what's going to be interesting is when because the Xbox is putting more and more games on PlayStation, Xbox actually will have some of the most, it already does now, and will continue to have some of the most popular franchises even on PlayStation, right? So as that continues to happen, that's like a Trojan horse from Xbox, and you have a lot of leverage right there, right? I don't think Xbox is going to do anything like, oh, we're going to take this game away unless you give us this one or anything like that. But I think what happens is eventually you kind of see this, like, PlayStation stops seeing Xbox as much as competition and more as a partner, and as a necessary partner. And at that point, they could look at, like, hey, they have 20, 30 million, 40 million Xbox consoles out there, next generation or whatever, however many that end up selling, and seeing that as just another place, and less like, hey, if we put our games over there, it's going to mean we sell less consoles, right? At some point, they may not really care as much about the direct competition console wise. Right now, they're still acting like they do, for narratives, because they understand that stuff very well. They understand the communities and how they communicate and how the perceptions are spread and how the narrative spread. They have used that to their marketing advantage for a long time, and that's why they say one thing and they do another, right? And most of the community is too ignorant of their fan base to even like notice that stuff. They just speak about whatever the hell it is that they say and be like, "Oh yeah, see." Meanwhile, they're actually doing the opposite. We believe in generations. Anybody, right? You can look at example like that time and time again over the last 10 years or so, since I guess since from PS3 into PS4 was when they really got into that with the controlling the narratives against Xbox, using whatever the current talking points as leveraged warfare and the perception of the community to wage against Xbox. It's been really interesting to see how they control that. At Microsoft doesn't understand that stuff very well at all. They aren't good at it. They don't understand what the community's uh, feelings are, what the console fans are like really looking for, and they do a bad job with the marketing in that aspect. Um, so you're gonna see the PlayStation continue to use that until it's irrelevant. When they realize that it's not going to make a difference anymore, that because Xbox is more partner than foe. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. If they can find a use, hey, we might as well. Nobody's going to care anyway. It was sell maybe another million or two of our copies of this game. They could do that, but I think they're going to wait till the last minute because they don't want to, or until it's widely accepted in the conversation. Until there's maybe even a push for it, even from some of their own uh, fan base and stuff. It's going to take a mindset change of the gamer, and I think that mindset change can actually happen. It's already happening somewhat. You see a lot of people giving up on Xbox as a brand, but like I think they're just missing the boat about what Xbox is evolving into. And the people that are more looking at it with an open mind and looking forward to the future are kind of like accepting it. And I think as time goes on, the present will meet that future, right? The future that we see, the people that are looking forward and thinking forwardly, see this stuff happening. People that think about here and now will eventually be in that time and place, and maybe the mindsets will change. Time will tell. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. This is what happens when you innovate and you push forward and you change the industry. People are hesitant to it. People are reluctant to move with it and are going to cling on to what they know and love. Meanwhile, people that are looking at the potential advantages and exciting things about that future are going to be more on board with it, right? I'm more in that category. So we'll see who wins out on this. Ultimately, Xbox is going to be here, and there's going to be lots of awesome games coming out for it. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm super fucking happy. Dakota says, I blame 3-bit for Megan Fox being abysmal in Mortal Kombat. Yeah, it's like I haven't heard too many universally agreed upon things this generation, but I think everybody that's played the new Mortal Kombat game can universally agree that it was horrible. That her voice acting was horrible as that character. That's a something we can all gather together and say, "Hey, that sucked." But it's just the voice of one character in the game, so it doesn't matter. And I also blame 3-bit for that, and I blame him for everything else. See? He's taking a blame. He said, "Whoops." Um, I wanna know, chat, what are your, most anticipated games still for this year? We talked about a little bit about Starfield Shattered Space at the beginning. For me, right now, that's coming out tomorrow. I'm curious about what the reception is gonna be. How are people going to receive it? Is it going to be used more about this anti-Starfield thing that's been going on ever since this game came out? Or is it going to be like, oh look, this is awesome. Look how awesome Starfield is now. I'm super hyped for it because I did the Andrasia quest line for the companion. And so I got really interested in the House Varun and that whole group. And this is exploring their home planet and all that kind of stuff. And it seems like they're trying to address what some people were looking for, which is having more of an isolated story that takes place in more of one larger handcrafted environment. And that's what they're going with this. Now, some people even tried to turn that into a negative because they said, "Oh, you can't leave," and all that kind of stuff. No, you can. You can go from there if you want to, just like the way Starfield works. But it is a larger area to explore that has a self-contained kind of story all within it. So I think some are going to really appreciate that. The people that were criticizing Starfield over being not enough on one area and too spread out into like um nothingness in all these places, all that crowd, you know. is hopefully gonna find stuff to enjoy here. Army Vet says Stalker. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Stalker 2 looks incredible. 3-Bit says Shattered Space and Indiana Jones. General Spartan says after Dragon Age, I'll play Stalker and Indy on Game Pass. Right on. The Vowed is the next one. Decado says Metaphor, New World, Stalker, COD, and Indiana Jones. Yeah, my mind like trying to think of all the games. Most anticipated, man, maybe Indiana Jones. No, maybe Metaphor. That Metaphor demo is fucking awesome. Then I think about, well, Shattered Space. Like, I love Starfield. And am I gonna get lost in it again tomorrow? Oh, then I think, okay, what about Flight Sim? Fuck, I loved when the last Flight Sim came out. I had a blast playing it. Man, Dragon Age. It's getting busy, folks. Whew, it's getting busy. How are we gonna keep up with all these damn games? The Metaphor, like, I think that game could be Metaphor could be like a game of the year candidate. I played the beta or the demo and I was like, "Oh my god." You know, even just like the animation of like the cutscenes. It's like you're watching like a top tier anime movie. Like it's fucking amazing. And then you get into the game and like this is like play is incredible and the characters and the story is interesting and there's so many things to look forward to. Jasper says IGN had a video on Flight Sim. They were super positive on it. Yeah, this Flight Sim is going to be amazing. The last one, like, I think it was very, very highly received and well rated as well. I think this is probably going to be one that also they're going to have like really high scores on it. Dakota says, "I'm worried I'll dump 300 hours into Metaphor." Yeah, dude, you could. I could literally just play Aura and Age of Mythology Retold the rest of this year and be completely happy, right? I could be completely content. There's so many games fucking coming. Like in a way, I'm kind of happy that Assassin's Creed Shadows was delayed because it makes more room for some of these other games. But man, I really wish Avowed hadn't been delayed now. But yeah, Avowed will be next year. It'll be amazing. Everybody was talking. I've been so like kind of yeah, is was you know about Xbox and gaming this year. I'm fucking looking at all this stuff, going, my god. Brett Bingham says most excited for Shattered Space, Starship Troopers, New World, Eternum, Call of Duty, Stalker, Indie, and Soul Reaver 1 and 2 remaster. Yeah, fuck. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 looks amazing. It could be the biggest Call of Duty in a long ass time, man. And that's in Game Pass. Like, oh my god. That beta was so fun, and the maps were so good. You know, I meant to do this earlier, everybody. I have this Restream 2.0 stuff has like AI generated chill like music. I was gonna play something so that way we can relax, and I don't have to worry about getting copyright struck, and I don't have to go. We can chill with that and talk games. It's not bad for AI music. Avowed looks a bit shaky. Nate, what looks shaky about Avowed to you? Specifically. What did you think of the new COD replacer? Oh, dude, that trailer is fucking hilarious, dude. Game adaptation newscast says I'm relaxed. It's Sunday, nowhere to go. Absolutely, relaxing day, chill day. AI does some songs better than the actual artist. Yeah, this is not bad. Check it up. It's Sunday. Yeah, it's Sunday. Hey, got games to play. It's Sunday. Hey, yeah. Yeah. It's Sunday. Let's chill. Yeah, Sunday. Let's chill. Yeah. Gameplay? What do you expect out of a fantasy-based Western RPG, like in the vein of Elder Scrolls, the slash game? I saw some of the feedback on that kind of stuff about gameplay. I think a lot of people are so into like these Soulsy like action swordy combat games, like it's all you see now. A lot of times that these shows get revealed. They had another one at the State of Play. And there's just a shit ton of these games. It's like the swords are the new thing, where it's like action, fast, more fast paced, and combat with like the whole parry system and all that kind of stuff. And it seems like people are so fixated on that style, like the Soul in his Souls genre really did this. And you see like a game that was at also the State of Play, like Arcade fantasy game. I forget what it's called, but that was like RPG theme that had that kind of combat and stuff in it as well. But like Obsidian's always made the same kind of games. They've made CRPGs, and they've made like Western-y RPGs more in the vein of like what Bethesda does, right? They did Fallout New Vegas, right? They worked on Alpha Protocol. Obsidian did before, and stuff like that. And like that's kind of the style of games that they make. So when I saw the combat and everything, I was thinking back to Oblivion, I was thinking back to Skyrim, because this is like their fantasy world RPG, right? Obsidian's, and not being Bethesda's little brother. It's Obsidian's own thing now, but they still make the style of games like that. Like Outer Worlds was kind of the same, right? As a shooter, but it's still the same kind of thing. So when people are talking about they're disappointed about Avowed's like combat or the way that it looks and stuff, I'm kind of like, well, have you never played those kind of games or before, or really understand what they are? If it's not for you, it's fine, right? It just means that their games aren't for you, or like the Bethesda games aren't for you either, like Skyrim and Oblivion and stuff like that. But for me, I looked at it and like, hey, it's another one of those kind of games. It looks good, right? They innovate in their ways on their kind of games, right? They're not gonna if they made, man, the worst thing I could imagine is Obsidian and Bethesda turning their Western RPGs into like super action heavy, like fast-paced combat type games. Because it's not the kind of games that make. They're more of like that immersive in the world, right? You live in the world. It's a little slower paced. The combat's going to be slower paced. It's meant to make you feel like you're more playing that role, right? So, yeah, if it's that style's not for you, then it's just was never going to be for you, right? But there's a lot of people that love those kind of games. It's like people that watch Tokyo Game Show for Xbox and be like, "Man, I'm really disappointed with this show. Like, where are all the games I care about?" Well, like, it's Tokyo Game Show. Like, that's if you're not into those style of games, then that show's not something that you probably should even entertain to watch too much of, because it's focused around those kind of games, right? I want more from Obsidian. Outer Worlds was good, but I think they need to grow their studio and up their quality. Skyrim is the greatest game ever, but even that game had people criticize that combat. Yeah, I mean, you could be like, you can uber focus on some things with it, but like, here's the thing with Bethesda, like they did really push combat forward with Starfield. Like, Starfield's combat was a huge evolution for them. So I think they did that. Yeah, I don't know, man. Nate Dogg, I think it's just a different style. That doesn't mean the combat's bad. The combat doesn't look bad to me. We'll see what it plays like, what it feels like, but from what I've seen, the combat looks like what I would expect, but a better version of it. But that's just to each their own. It looks exactly like what I would expect from that kind of game. The Kato says, Mav, I was happy with the number of JRPGs shown at the TGS. Me too. Yeah, that was like overall, I think a really good show. I think they had some really good stuff. They had shadow drops for Game Pass. They had some updates on some of the other games that we have to look forward to that we already know about, like the for the pipeline. They had new game announcements. That Threads of Time game again stole the show from me. It was absolutely fucking awesome. Jesse James says, "Isn't Microsoft having a partner showcase next month?" I'm not sure. If there's rumors around that, I'm not sure. Or if they maybe have announced something. I don't know. Sup, E-Ranks. Happy Sunday to you too. Sup, Fuzzy Tomato. My hot take is that Skyrim's vanilla combat is still fun in 2024. Yeah, there's a reason that a lot of people still play that shit. Right? It's absolutely amazing. Cygnus says Dragon Age Fortnite like art style ain't vibing with the majority of the fans. Same situation with Avowed. So what do you mean Dragon Age is Fortnite like art style? You're talking about Dragon Age? You're talking about Avowed, or same situation with Avowed? So you saw a lot of the feedback originally when Avowed was shown for the first time. Gameplay was on the like, people didn't like the way it looked because of the art style with it and stuff, and they were saying it looked not what they expected. I thought it was fine. I think it looks pretty cool, but that's a personal taste. That's a personal preference, right? So it's gonna vibe with some. It's not gonna vibe with others. I think a lot of the criticism comes from the extra focus they get because they're Xbox first party. I think that if Avowed had been shown and announced without them being first party, then everybody would have been celebrating Avowed because it was the next big game from them, and it's in the same similar style as Outer Worlds, which is highly celebrated. colors wise and all that kind of stuff. It's gorgeous. Like Outer Worlds was, and Avowed looks like it has like a lot of color, and it's very vibrant, and it has a lot of like in the dungeons and stuff. You can see like the colors are just popping everywhere. I love that stuff, man. But I think ultimately people's mindset changes anytime it's an Xbox first party game, and you get this kind of ultra focus because people are using things for console wars and stuff, as opposed to it just being a third party publisher that's just making a game and everybody's like, hey, what's this game? Oh, that looks cool. Yeah, I'm excited to play it, or I'm not. Now it's like, oh, what are they going to achieve? How are they moving the needle? How are they pushing things forward? But everybody's mindset completely changes on all that kind of stuff when it's first party. And you can say, hey, that's rightfully so. But if that means they have to change the kinds of games that they want to make and change their vision and all that stuff because they're first party, I don't agree with that. I think they were acquired because of the kinds of games that they make. We shouldn't want them to be something other than are not. And Obsidian's making Obsidian games, which to me is awesome. Same with Bethesda. They're making Bethesda games, which to me is awesome, right? Like, I don't understand why everything has to be different because they're owned by Microsoft now. Yeah, not everything. Yeah, God Emperor Sofa Kings. Yeah, exactly. Not everything needs to be ultra realistic graphics. Yeah, it's weird how the narratives and the perception of expectations changes because the studios and whom they're owned by, right? Because now it's console war conversations and all that kind of stuff. Let's see here. E-Rank says Avowed doesn't look Fortnite-y at all. Totally different art style. Agree on Dragon Age though. Very nervous about that game. Yeah, some aren't excited for for Dragon Age because it has a little bit of different style. I'm going into Dragon Age personally with an open mind as well, because every Dragon Age game has been really drastically different from the other one. Even Dragon Age Origins into Dragon Age 2, very different games. Yes, they're more similar than the ones that came after, but them themselves are even very different. Dragon Age Inquisition was also extremely different, right? It changed things a lot. And I was on the fence about that at first. It's like, oh, I wanted them to do more of a traditional, CRPG style game, because that's what I was a fan of for BioWare. Making those kinds of games like Neverwinter Nights, right? Baldur's Gate. That's what I was looking forward to with Dragon Age, and we got that with Dragon Age 1 and 2 more or less. So when they changed Dragon Age Inquisition as more actiony, I was like, oh, okay, well, it's interesting, but they still kept at the heart of it what was important for that, and I ended up loving it. Ended up being one of my favorite games that year, and it actually won a lot of awards. That year also, it was, I think IGN gave it their Game of the Year award. It was nominated for many other Game of the Year awards. So Inquisition was also had a lot of the same conversation, right? A lot of the same conversation now with Veilguard, as they changed some of the art style, they changed some of the things in the game. It's looking different again, but I look at it, I see it, and I think it looks gorgeous. And they are still have very interesting things with the combat, making it very RPG focused still, even if it's more actiony again. So, I'm going to go into it with an open mind as a fan of the franchise. I don't know what all the perception or reactions are going to be, but I will go into it looking to enjoy it, and I hope I do. If I do, I do. If I don't, I don't. But ultimately, I'm not really worried about it or concerned, but I understand if certain people are. Cygnus says something about that cartoony textures made it seem like a downgrade. It took away that premium AAA shine. Yeah, I don't know. I think Dragon Age looks pretty exceptional graphics wise, but going unrealistic graphics wise is always seeming like a controversial choice these days with gamers. I personally like the variety. Like I don't think every game needs to try and go for a realistic look. I appreciate the difference of aesthetics, and um, you can look even at different genres and like JRPGs, right? You have your like games like Threads of Time was gorgeous. It had like the pixel nostalgia, but also looks new. Then they had the anime themes going on there, but then you have stuff like Final Fantasy 16 or Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. Those look amazing too, right? But you can enjoy and love both kinds of games, even if one is different than the other. Doesn't make one better or worse. It just is up to preference. People are always going to prefer what they like, but perception that I have an issue with is when people all of a sudden label something as less than or bad because it's not what they enjoy as much. Now, instead, it's like everybody should think this. It is automatically a bad thing because I don't like it, and all of a sudden it's like doesn't deserve to have praise, or people that say they like it or crazy or all that kind of stuff. It's like people are gonna like what they want, man. And I get criticism for being too positive about games. Can't criticize or not like anything. Well, I usually play games that I'm looking forward to, and I'm usually looking for the fun to be had in the game and not looking at it with a magnifying glass trying to find my problems with it. And I've went into games with that same mentality that I've been extremely disappointed with, and I've voiced my opinion on those as well. It just doesn't happen as often. That'd be different, Cygnus, because Mass Effect has always had the same kind of style for the most part. Like Dragon Age has been drastically different each game, so that it's changed. If all three Dragon Age games had been one style and one idea in one way, and they drastically changed it this time, then I would understand more. But every Dragon Age game has been very different than the others. Yeah, E-Rank says, I don't know why cartoony graphics are automatically considered lesser. Metaphor seems amazing, and it's a little anime. Well, I think, okay, so it seems like from some of the big AAA publishers, or when people have certain studios they didn't really have as high expectations of sometimes, people don't care or they say anything. But when it's like certain franchises or certain games, people freak out, and certain companies like just get hate. BioWare people are going to be skeptical of, period, right now. So when they announce something, people are looking at it like a little skeptically, and if they don't like what they see based on one thing, it's all of a sudden, oh, this is going to be bad. This is going to be bad. From the actual people that have been covering Dragon Age, I've only heard good things. From the people that have been playing it, seeing it in person, and trying it out, doing the previews of it, I've mainly heard and seen good things. Like, that's going to determine like perception somewhat, but everybody's focused on the art style. I don't know. For me, it's a weird thing to hyper focus on when it's like such a, like, it's a gorgeous, first off, it's a gorgeous game, but it's also like a fantasy based RPG that's had a pretty drastically different looking look every game it's had. It's also not meant to be like a realistic like thing. Now, what my dream, I'll tell you, my dream Dragon Age game is like in the vein of Baldur's Gate. Like if they went hardcore into deep CRPG and just went all out, like making a grand scale traditional CRPG like that, that's what would be my like a dream for that game for me. But that's not what they're making, so I'm going to judge the game for what it is, not what my hopes and dreams would be, right? I could say I could tell you what I would want like every massive franchise for the next game to be like. And I'd be like, that's what I would do because it would be amazing. That's what they should do, right? But it doesn't mean that I'm right, and it also doesn't mean that if they make something different than that, that I can't enjoy it because of what it is. Could be something completely different, and I have a blast with it. It's eye candy. Wukong is the beautiful visuals. I remember their first video went viral because of how it looks. Yeah, but they're going for the more of that, like high detailed, like more realistic graphical look to it. Different games go with different styles and the art style and stuff. You know, like you could look at a game like Borderlands, and it's no less fun or good because it's cell shaded. Right? It's still fun to look at. It still looks great too. You know, does it mean it's less than? Games aren't just all about graphics. I love good graphics, but games aren't just all about fucking graphics. Like like the conversation of a lot of that stuff. Like every game has to push the boundaries of fidelity. Like, there's certain kinds of games that do that, certain kind of games that don't. I agree that visuals matter, but it matters if it looks good still in the way that it's intending to. Like, how does the world come to life when you're playing it in this world that they created? Do you feel immersed in this fantasy world with its vibrant colors and or are you immersed because of the artistic direction of it and you feel like you're in this different kind of place? Or are you interested because it looks ultra real? Then that's cool too, right? But like, you don't see people talking about this kind of stuff when it comes to like, oh, there's like anime style games, or like there's this or that. It's like, it's obvious what it is, right? It's just some of these big IPs and publishers, they get looked at differently for some reason, and all of a sudden if it's not like that, it's less than. I'm like, I just don't understand. Now, like, I'll use this as an example, right? Splinter Cell, okay? When Ubisoft shows a Splinter Cell remake, if that looks cartoony, I will be here being like, what the fuck are you doing? Because that's not what Splinter Cell is, right? Splinter Cell in the past, like even especially with like Chaos Theory and they pushed the boundaries historically on graphics and fidelity and realism in that kind of game, right? And that's at the heart of what Splinter Cell is pushing the boundaries with that. Lighting, graphical detail, realistic looking environments, right? If the next Splinter Cell is like different like that, I'll be like, that's strange. Like, what are you doing? Like, give us Splinter Cell, you know? But these games that like Dragon Age is not like that. It's not like that, you know? Like if there's like a million examples you could give for stuff like that, right? Like ultimately it just matters how good the game is, how it looks for what they're trying to achieve. And imagine a Dungeons of Hinterberg looking Splinter Cell. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. E-ranks, right? I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? You know, and everybody would be like, what the fuck is this? We finally get Splinter Cell and this is what you're giving us? That's just not the same with a game like Dragon Age. The perception always been, if it doesn't look realistic, your game automatically goes to a cheaper side of things, like AA or indie territory. I think that's bullshit. That's a complete bullshit statement. Maybe for you, there's a lot of games that haven't gone with realistic looking graphics that are insanely popular AAA type games. Splinter Cell Blacklist still looks amazing. I hope they don't regress. Yeah, for sure. I'd still play it though, if I'm being 100% honest. Yeah, I probably would too. Do I think the industry has more cartoony games or realistic? I don't know. Like, here's the thing: you have certain companies get criticized for making games that look more realistic or the characters more believable as well, right? Um, I think there's probably more, like, if you just like tally up, there's probably more cartoony games because like there's more just random games that aren't like the big franchises. You know what I mean? Some of the big franchises, they try and go like the realistic graphics and stuff, but there's a lot that in the history of gaming have not, and that's okay. And ultimately, like, we've had massive successive franchises that go opposite style, right? Like look at Metaphor, right? I mean, in Persona, like if you want to go into Atlas, like those are AAA RPGs, JRPGs. Those aren't double A. They're not indie, right? They're cartoons. You know, it's like anime. What do you? How do you justify the amount of like the amount of years it takes for them to make the amount of effort and money and time and like all that stuff goes into it, and they're highly rated and successful? Are they seen less than? No, those games are highly praised. Highly praised. Look at you could look at different genres in the history of gaming and just throughout. I mean, there's tons of examples. Yeah, it's Zelda and Mario. Yeah, 100%, right? But like Breath of the Wild is championed as like one of the greatest games ever, right? Mario Galaxy, the Tales series. Like, you can say what your perception is, right? But to say that that's the perception of everybody, I think is false. So if I see a graphically wow factor game, does that like, oh wow, you pay attention to that? Yeah, for sure. But there's also been a lot of those games that proved to be nothing but smoke and mirrors. You look at something like Sea of Thieves, right? Sea of Thieves is massive. You can even say a game like Minecraft. Okay, is it less than? It has tons of people playing it. It's not going to be that commercial showpiece or whatever, but people love those games. Fortnite visually is absolutely actually amazing. If you actually like stop and watch the game and just look at the graphics and the detail in Fortnite with the on a Series X or like a PS5, man, like it looks incredible, but it's cartoony. You know, one of the most popular games in the world. Jesse says, I feel like the PS1 started the era of realistic graphics, but the industry never fully changed over to that. Yeah, PlayStation 1 really did start that, and it was the first game I remember playing on a PS1 was Ridge Racer. And that was the first racer I'd played that kind of looked like that. I was like, wow, my eyes were melting. You know, I was like, oh my god, this is cool, right? But Mario Kart's also so crazy popular, right? I don't agree with the labeling as AA or AAA. I would agree with you, Cygnus, that there is a perception of realistic graphics being better than from some out there, but there's also, I think, equally amount that will realize that it doesn't matter and there's all different kinds of games. But I think some people will see that. I wouldn't say majority. Overall, it just depends on what you want to play, right? And it's also can be controversial or argued, like what is cartoony and what's not, right? Like, okay, so Star Wars Outlaws has kind of like a realistic kind of look to it, but it's also playing a little bit more on the edge with different colors and stuff and themes with it and the art style choices, that it also makes it not so much realistic. But I appreciate the way that the game looks, except for the morphing characters' faces that always are changing, which is really weird. But that game actually looks really good. Is it realistic? Is it not? I don't know. It's kind of in between. Look at it. Here's an example of a franchise. Prince of Persia. Some of the most celebrated... Prince of Persia is a franchise that's kind of done both a little bit. But some of the most celebrated Prince of Persia games are the ones that actually lean more towards the cartoony side than and the artsy side than the realistic side. Some of the ones that people have the most fond memories of. There's lots of games that do both, or but yeah, it's interesting. Borderlands is a massive. Would you consider Borderlands AA? Borderlands is a massive AAA franchise, and it's cel shaded. The Last of Us graphics and physics made it successful. Yeah, that's what they're trying to do, right? So there's different games that are trying to do different things, and this is what I think, like, as some gamers have missed the boat on this thinking. It, like, I don't understand how everybody pigeons everything as it needs to be this specific thing or it's less than. I will 100% argue against that every day of the damn week. Because not everything needs to look or play or have the same kind of combat or the same visual look or look ultra realistic or have Souls-like combat or have this or have that. There's different kinds of games that are trying to achieve different things, right? And some games are exceptional in some things that other games aren't. Now, if you are creating a certain kind of game, you're going to focus on different things. And that's okay. Because their focus is on the other elements that make it special. Does it make it less than something else that looks graphically more realistic? No, it just may mean it's for a different kind of gamer. Body cam, it's probably in development still. It's one of those games that showed up, and we'll wait to hear eventually from it again, right? Triple says, what I don't like is when people see a trailer for the first time, they see the graphics and they automatically say this is a game of the year just because of the graphics. Yeah, there's a lot of that happens a lot, and it's a lot of times it doesn't end up panning out, right? But it is what it is. Brett says, what is your favorite trailer ad from Call of Duty? There's a soldier in all of us from Black Ops 1, and the noob and the vet from the OG Modern Warfare games were my favorite. Oh man. I kind of I'm having trouble remembering all of them, man, to be honest with you. Now this new one is pretty fucking hilarious. It actually made me laugh, right? The Replacer trailer, like that, it actually made me laugh. Like when he was like, I like that. Like when she was like, hey daddy, and he's like, I like that. And he was like cutting his waffles or whatever the fuck he was. And I don't remember what he was cutting on his plate. But that just fucking made me laugh, dude. Like I will go for humor over anything else usually. But when humor's done well, I appreciate it. Sometimes these commercials or companies do humor and it's horrible and cringy and doesn't make me laugh, and then it's bad. But when you do humor well like that, it's fucking amazing. So I would maybe actually say this one. I liked some of the ones back in the day that had all the celebrities like blowing shit up and stuff. You know, like rocket launchers and shit like that. I remember some of those that were great, but this one was fucking hilarious, dude. That's weird. It just said chat disconnected. It's strange. Kiss your own baby lady. Blessings. It's fucking hilarious. Sub OCD gamer. Yeah. So when Wukong, we're gonna be. You said it when I first saw Wukong going to be game of the year. I think that might happen. Yeah, it could. I don't know if it will or not. I don't think it will, honestly. But there's other games that have shown like that and been vaporware, right? Like the day before, you know. It, I'm always like when a game is awe striking from a developer I'm not familiar with, from like shown for the first time. It's like, what is this? I knew Black Myth Wukong was legit because they talked to the developers and they seemed legitimate and all that kind of stuff. But the graphics on a new IP from a developer I've never heard of before usually aren't going to make me say, "Oh, that's going to be game of the year." It's going to be I'm going to wait and see how the game is and how it does. Right? I think Black Myth Wukong is awesome success. I think it's amazing what it's accomplished. I think it's probably a fucking amazing game. It's not a game that's really for me with the style that it is, you know, with the combat and everything. So I'll probably get it some point down the line when it's cheap, and I'll probably end up playing it on PC because it seems like that's the best place to play it. Death Stranding is amazing visually, right? And that's what they're going for in that game. That's slow pace, story, graphics. Awesome that they're doing that. Let's see. The noob and the vet also had D Wade with a grenade launcher. Yeah, I'm not a big D Wade fan, so that one I'll pass on. I'm a huge Dirk fan, and now I know they've made amends, right? But back when the Mavs played the Heat and we destroyed the Heat in the finals, D Wade lost my respect, acting like a little bitch at the time. Sup Cam, how's it going, dude? Pragmata is a Capcom game, yes. Here we go. Here's another example with realism. Resident Evil. Now, some of the graphics on the Resident Evil games are fantastic, right? But they're not necessarily going for realisticness either. A lot of Capcom games, generally. I mean, like, you can just go through them. Let's see. When LeBron completely choked, yeah. People forget that era of LeBron, even before then, there was a lot of choking because, like, even when he was on the Cavs before, he would shut down, kind of, and go into this like weird mode of trying to take the back seat a little bit. But he got, you know, after that year when they lost to the Mavericks, that's when he kind of got more his groove on. I think he needed D Wade and Bosch to kind of push him to being more of the dominant player in the finals and everything that he could be, and then he continued to do that, right? But beforehand, yeah, there was a lot of criticism of him in the playoffs before he started winning. But yeah, and the Mavs, like that dude, him and D Wade, when they were like, they mocked. So Dirk had a flu. He was like really sick one game, and he was like sitting there on the sideline coughing and all that stuff. And he still had a good game. He ended up like hitting like the game winner at the end of that game. But then before the next game, they were like mocking him and like fake coughing, pretending like Dirk was faking and shit and stuff. And like it was just like a lack of respect. It was just like classless, right? It showed that they had a lack of respect for the Mavericks and for Dirk, and end up costing them in the end because that lack of respect ended up biting them. They killed them in that finals. Yeah, 2011, man. That was a good year for Dirk, man. It took a lot out of him though. His best years were probably actually like athletically, like 2006, 2007. He was just a fucking beast then, dude. He was like all over the place. Like the whole offense ran through him. And they did for a long time, but like especially in the Avery Johnson era, like it was pretty crazy because they didn't have anything else, really. Yeah, Fuzzy. What was weird though, Fuzzy, was what I'm talking about. Like he carried them to the playoffs, but what was weird is like when they would play like the Celtics. I think it was the Celtics in the finals at the time. Like he would go into these modes where he just kind of like shut down, and he like didn't like even like he just became like a bystander like on the court. Like he would just pass the ball off and just kind of stand there at times. And it was really weird seeing that guy, LeBron, playing that way at that time. And he got a lot of criticism for that at the time. But yeah, 100%, they would have never gotten there without him. I think the interesting thing about the Mavs that year against the Heat is unless you were a Heat fan, everybody was pulling for the Mavericks, right? And I think that year cemented Dirk's legacy because it had the whole like country, the basketball fans, or the whole world of basketball fans watching and paying a lot of attention to that series because you had the big three versus Dirk and the Mavericks, right? And like Mavericks were definitely the underdogs, and they pulled it out. And I think people gathered a different level of respect for Dirk during that playoff run. But people forget. That same year, I know we're on another tangent talking. I could talk fucking Mavs all day. But that same year, we had to go through the Thunder, who had KD, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook, not to mention Serge Ibaka, like all young and kind of in their prime, right? They had to get through the Thunder. They had to get through the Lakers as well. I think they actually started that again. It started against the Blazers, if I can remember right. Anyway, Cam says MJ the GOAT. You get you a PS5 Pro pre-order. I'm waiting on it, Cam. Like the price is just a little high for me right now to justify it based on the amount of games I'm looking forward to on PlayStation, because I would really only play it for the first party games, and their Ghost of Yote has me like I'm gonna have a hard time waiting on that one, but I can be content maybe waiting for a little while to play that. I'm hoping it gets announced for PC within a 6 months to a year, and if it doesn't, I'm hoping the PS5 Pro sales are not as high as they anticipated, and there's actually some kind of a price drop or something. I'll probably own one by the end of this generation. I'll just let the games kind of accumulate more before I end up getting one. Unless they start doing games more day and date, then I'll just play on my PC. Or not as long of a wait, 6 months to a year, and then I won't feel like I need to get one. But I'm also hoping GT7 comes to PC. Yeah, his second stint in Cleveland is a different animal, 100% Nate Dogg. Yeah, it's like he had gotten that, like, hey, I'm gonna be the guy, and even in the playoffs or the finals, doesn't matter, I'm gonna take over, right? He definitely got that. Yeah, basketball was a lot more fun then. I think the Warriors and Steph Curry, man, they like changed the NBA even more so than like it had already been changing. When everybody started taking the deep threes from like way downtown all the time and started being able to consistently hit them and stuff, it's just like everybody tried to be Steph Curry, and there's all those new age players that take those shots a lot, you know, and it's just changed basketball. And you can't crowd them and put your hands on them and stuff. So it's just like, who's going to hit the higher percentage of your threes? Right. And it's just kind of annoying to watch teams take fucking so many threes. Some people like it. I miss the physical days of really fucking gritty basketball. Punty says the whole offense went through him. Yeah, no diddy on that, Mav. Dirk, the big three was some of the most fun basketball I saw that era. Toronto gave away Bosch to Miami. Yeah, I can't believe Toronto gave away Bosch like that. Yeah, but like in the early days of the Mavs, when it was Nash, Dirk, and Finley, that was crazy. But then in the Avery Johnson era, when you had Dirk and they had like Josh Howard, like you had this like uber folk, like they made the finals like in 2006 and they lost to the Heat then. That was Wade's rookie year. I believe that was Dwayne Wade's rookie year. It might have been his second year. But yeah, that was in the crazy how good Dirk was. And then the next year, 2007 is when he won MVP, but we lost early against the Warriors in the first round. D'Antoni was doing all those threes first, though. Yeah, Mike D'Antoni, yeah, with the Suns. But they were also an alley-oop machine. Like Nash to Stoudemire, and their team was just like crazy offense, but they weren't jacking up threes from like 5 feet behind the 3-point line constantly all game either, you know. Like some of these teams now just are crazy. But if you really want to go back even further, you could say the Kings. The Kings were the first team to really start playing that way in the new era. And then actually the Mavericks started doing it more in the Nash era under Don Nelson. And then it went into Mike D'Antoni and the Suns took it to another level, right? But nothing like still what it was with the Warriors. Yeah, Josh Howard was super talented. Too bad he was kind of a knucklehead, man. He just he cared too much about the wrong things off the court. Yeah, McGrady, like speaking of the Rockets, McGrady was insane. Yeah, Mari was amazing. Fuzzy says you pretty much stopped watching when LeBron left the second time. Prince Green says, Mav, just wait for the PS6. GTA 6 will come to PC. The question is, can you wait? It depends on the other PlayStation exclusive games, 100%, and it depends on when they go to PC. Like I like some of the PlayStation games, and if I have to, I will buy a console again to play them. If there's enough there, when I sold my PS5 recently, it was because there's a lack of games coming out for it that I care whatsoever about. The console's just sitting there collecting dust. I play my third parties on Xbox or PC, and it was just like, what am I doing with this here? So I'm going to sell it while I can get the most money for it, because it's probably going to go down later, right? And then hopefully they'll announce an amazing pipeline of exciting games that I'm looking forward to that I can't wait for. Then I'll get a PS5 Pro. I wasn't expecting it to be as much as it was, or I guess I was actually, but the price they haven't justified it yet for me. If I was the only PlayStation, like I've said this many times, if the only place I play is PlayStation, I played all my third parties there. I don't game on PC, I don't game on Xbox, and I just play on PlayStation, right? I would probably get a PS5 Pro. I would probably find myself justified in doing that just because it's my ecosystem and I want to play the games the best way possible. But for me, as this gamer that plays in multiple places, with primarily on the Xbox ecosystem and PC, there's just not enough there to justify it for me yet, because the pipeline is just not there. They announced one game finally that I am excited for, but is that one game going to justify me going and spending $700? I will say that if anything, maybe Ghost of Yote showed me that I could just be happy getting a regular PS5 again down the road, because I think that I would be content playing it that way. I don't know what the benefits are for PS5 Pro on Ghost of Yote. They didn't really showcase that well on the show, on that announcement. That's Cam, you hit the nail on the head right there, right? I'm gonna highlight this comment because that's been my stance on it. Like, talking about for the PlayStation ecosystem gamer, right? If all you play is on PlayStation, one of the benefits I think you're gonna have is on the third parties that have been struggling to hit 60, that are kind of below slightly, maybe in the 40s, 50s on the frames, and also with resolution or whatever is lesser than and all that kind of stuff. That's where you're going to see the most benefit, is you're going to actually have those games starting to hit a little bit better performance, and also they may have some enhanced modes and stuff like that. But if you're only relying on it for first party, there's just too little there in release schedule to come out for. That's why they mainly focused on older games. The issue I had for it, justification wise, was the actual PlayStation 5 first party games already really run well and look great. So I don't feel like, because they already have 60 frames modes and stuff, right? I don't feel like I need to buy one just for those games, right? So, but if you're, like I said, if you're only playing there and that's your place to play, your third parties are gonna be better on it. Your games that are like Space Marine 2 that are struggling a little bit more on PlayStation are gonna benefit from it. You're going to have just a bit better experience all in all on the games you're playing on the platform. So that would justify it for me to upgrade if I was looking there, right? To if I was only playing there right now. But for me, looking at it as like I'm looking for a reason to dive back into the PlayStation ecosystem. There's nothing there for me right now. I'm hoping there's more that they have to announce. Because right now there's only one 2025 game that I think they've announced that I'm excited for, which is Ghost of Yotei. Yeah, like, dude, Space Marine Cam, dude, like Space Marine 2 on PC is fucking glorious, dude. Oh my god. I have it. They did the latest update they had on ultra wide. I did the ultra wide format, and I have it with like ultra settings and everything. And I have it locked at 60 frames. Oh my god! And the backdrops and the scenes and the settings and all that shit is just fucking glorious, man. And I mean, the PS5 Pro ain't gonna be able to do that. You know, like I can run it native 4K and ultra on that TV there from the PC. It looks fucking incredible. I wonder if I want to try. I'll try and stream it at some point so you can see. GTA had a feeling GTA 6 will be 4K 60 on the Pro. I don't think 60 is going to happen, bro, because that's a CPU heavy thing, right? I know a lot of people were very wishful thinking on that 60 frames for GTA 6. I mean, I think you're going to get maybe a 4K, right? With higher fidelity and stuff. But like the CPU is still going to be the limiting factor. Is certain games are just going to be too much for the CPUs that like the Series X and the PS5 have. And the CPU on the PS5 Pro is the same. Now you can change the way the resolution is done because you can take advantage of like the PSSR and all that stuff, right? But like, so you have to go and do extra work. You actually lower probably the resolution and then do the enhanced whatever you call it, the PSSR stuff on that, and then maybe you can free up some frame space potentially for frame rates. I don't know. I think you're gonna get some benefit. I don't know if a game like GTA 6 is gonna do it. We'll see. I mean, I would love for it. If that happens, then that'll be my reason, right? That will. I'm telling you right now, if the only place you can play 60 frames on GTA 6 is PS5 Pro, that might be my reason. I just don't think it's gonna happen. Game adaptation newscast says, I'm annoyed the Starfield DLC hasn't installed yet. It better be ready when I get up tomorrow. Right on. Brett Bingham says, D-Batch was saying that PS5 Pro has Alan Wake 2 with ray tracing, and not even the Series X has that. I think the Series consoles will get an Alan Wake ray tracing update when PS5 Pro launches. Maybe. I don't know. It'd be interesting if that happens. I saw that whole thing with D-Batch going on with other people, and I'm not as into the tech as he is, obviously, but I saw a lot of good points made against what his comparisons were originally. So So I don't know. I think Slow Mo had some good comments on that whole thing. Let's see. Does it launch at 12 tonight? I saw earlier they posted like a release window or a release schedule. I don't know exactly what time. But yeah, I'm going to get it installed. Man, yeah, we got Shattered Space, Stalker 2, Call of Duty, Indiana Jones, Flight Sim, Dragon Age. What other games were we were talking about? Games we're excited for. What else are we missing coming out this year? What do I go off of GameSpots? All right, let's look at. I don't know how accurate they will be, but we'll see. Well, they're already failing me because GameSpot doesn't even have Shattered Space on here. Like, okay. Ooh, anybody excited for the Until Dawn remaster? Games Radar has a good one. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with maybe Games Radar's, because Shattered Space is a pretty fucking big omission, right? Let's look at this one. This is Polygons. And they missed Shattered Space also. They have other expansions on here. It's so crazy. Anyway, Kill Knight, October 2nd. Actually, that game looks pretty good. So, man, why does everything have to come out in this next 3 months? It's so weird. How can Polygon have Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred but not have Starfield's expansion? Anyway. Yeah, Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred, October 8th. Fuck, man. So we only get a week between Shattered Space and Vessel of Hatred? What the fuck, man? Then 3 days after that, Metaphor? And Metaphor comes out the same day that Dragon Ball Sparking Zero comes out, which personally I'm not really looking forward to. But I know a lot of people are really looking forward to Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. So this is crazy. I'm going to actually bring this up on screen. I'm going to bring this one up on screen. I'm going to test this feature out. Okay. There we go. And I'm going to hide the chat. Hey, look at that. Oh, I'm testing it out to see what we get the best view with. Okay, how about this one? Or how about this one? There we go. I like that one. I'm gonna zoom on this. Whoops. Okay. All right. Here's a list. You guys see this okay? Starship Troopers comes out on the 11th and New World on the 15th. Yep. All right, so we got Kill Knight, October 2nd. We got Mech Warrior 5 Clans on October 3rd. Let's see. Oh, we got SpongeBob the SquarePants' Patrick Star game. Everybody looking forward to that one. Sword Art Online Until Dawn remaster. You got Vessel of Hatred on the 8th. Silent Hill 2 remake comes out on the 8th also. Is anybody here excited for that? I don't think it looked that great, but it still could be fun. That's it's Mech Assault that they owned, AJH. Silent Hill 2 remake is kind of looked disappointing to me. Now, this is one where I will say the graphics did actually affect me a little bit because I'm comparing it to Resident Evil and what they've done with their remakes. Silent Hill remake looks like it was a lot less put into it, right? To bring it up to date. It looks a little bit more old school. Now, however, it still could be good. The gameplay could be great. It could be scary and all that kind of stuff. It could still have that classic vibe. You know, it's a classic game. But I would have liked to see what Resident Evil did, you know, with their remakes. Silent Hill do the same. Like, just go all out on it and really push the boundaries of making it look great. But it just doesn't. And it's not just the graphics, it's like the animations, like everything. It just looks really dated. It doesn't look as much like a remake as it does like a half remaster almost, to me, at least. I don't know. Looks like a blooper game. Well, even the fucking, what was the one that they made on Xbox that came out? It was like on the first year of Xbox, and then it ended up going everywhere else. And it had the girl, and it did the thing where it's like the medium, right? It was running the game twice in the background, so that way you could like see it from two perspectives and two versions of the world, doing some interesting things. That game graphically looked better to me than Silent Hill 2 does. Did I try Metaphor? Yes, I have, AJH. It's absolutely amazing. I played about an hour of it so far, and I think it could be a Game of the Year candidate. So Silent Hill 2 remake, we got Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, then we got Metaphor, and I know, Brett, you're excited for Starship Troopers on the same day as Metaphor. There's the Star Wars, not Star Wars, the Transformers like kart racing kind of game thing. There's Undisputed, which Fuzzy has been playing the hell out of this on PC on the like early access or whatever. And it's coming everywhere. I've been wanting a new boxing game, a good one. So I'm gonna wait and see how it looks and plays. Maybe I'll watch some streams on Series X or something. But it would be something I might consider getting for console. Let's see what else. Super Mario Party, another Mario Party. Fuck. Let's see. Any other big ones for October? Black Ops 6, yeah, October 25th. Wow. Sonic X Shadow Generations, October 25th. Game looks pretty good. This Life is Strange game actually looks good. A double exposure, October 29th. Dragon Age, October 31st. Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, also on the 31st. November. Mario and Luigi Brothership actually looks pretty fun, I'll say. Let's see. Planet Coaster. Anybody into the coaster games, the Planet Coaster and stuff? I actually there was one that came out on Xbox One. Was it Planet Coaster? I can't remember which one it was, but it was actually pretty damn fun. It might be the same franchise. I'm not sure. Let's see what else we got. Slitterhead. That was just shown at TGS. That game looks pretty cool, but it's not for me. Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake looked fucking fantastic. They showed that at TGS. Flight Sim 2024 November 19th. Wow. Genshin Impact's actually hitting the day after that on Xbox. Stalker 2 November the 20th. So the 19th and the 20th, Flight Sim and Stalker 2. Holy shit. Then December, Fantasian, which is the Sakaguchi game. Coming everywhere. Marvel Rivals on the 6th, December. Indiana Jones, the 9th. We got the Legacy of Kain remasters on the 10th. And that's it for December. But there may be some more release dates. We'll see, because these games apparently have no... well, some of these did have dates, because I remember seeing them. But yeah. Wow. Metaphor's demo was awesome. If it's a true representation of the rest of the game, it's probably my game of the year. I'm telling you, man, Metaphor is going to be crazy. It's going to be absolutely crazy. It's going to be, I think it could be a contender for me. Unicorn Overlord was great. That's a contender for me. Dragon's Dogma 2 is a contender for me. Space Marine 2 is a contender for me. But a lot of the big games are still yet to come out. So it's just a crazy year. Yeah, 6 games on the 11th, Staccato. Absolutely crazy. Looking forward to it. Yeah, we're almost in 3 hours on this stream. Holy shit. Shattered Space tomorrow, guys. If you like Starfield, and there's a lot of you out there that do, I know it. Looking forward to seeing how the reception is. I'm looking forward to seeing what people think of it. Overall, I'm pretty sure I'm going to enjoy it because it's content that's in Starfield in a game that I love. So check that out. Maybe I'll stream some of it this week as well. Tomorrow we'll be back on regular schedule, so there will be a FSP tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern time. Thursday we have PM in the PM at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and Friday's Xbox Ultimate at 10 p.m. Eastern. Cam says right now game of the year is Dragon's Dogma. Right on. Yeah, everybody, I hope you enjoyed the stream. I really got nothing left to add. I mean, we went over Xbox stuff. We went over the Ubisoft stuff to start. We talked about Shattered Space a little bit. We talked about all these other games coming out. Dragon Age, a lot conversation. It was a fun stream, but I would just thank everybody for hanging out and adding to the chat, being part of the content and what we do here. And I hope you all have a fucking awesome Sunday night and this chill, relaxing Sunday. But yeah, thanks, guys. And I'll see y'all on FSP tomorrow. Yeah, I was looking to see. I haven't put, like I said, I'm using this new studio thing. I don't know if I put the outro thing on here. I need to add my outro. I don't have it on here. So you'll get the intro as the outro. I hope you have a good one, guys. Take it easy. Peace. Do a flip. That's as much as I can do. Peace out. Bye.